the difference between science and religion is that science only asks you for one miracle. I want you to believe in one miracle, the Big Bang.
Rejoice, for he has risen. What, Jesus? No, Joe Rogan, actually. Hello there, you awakening wonders. Remember, we stream at these times, on these days, on Rumble. Get Rumble Premium. If you are a Christian, you'll be fascinated and excited to see Joe Rogan's new ruminations on the origins of the universe and on Christ specifically. If you're not a Christian, you might be wondering, where am I going to draw power, inspiration, and resources from in this deteriorating world? You might be fascinated to see the various new fractures and fragmentations appearing in the post-Trump era, whether that's in political spaces, there's a Maha civil war, or in media spaces increasingly divided over issues like Israel, Iran, war generally. So where is it that we're going to look for redemption, peace, and salvation? I would say where we've always looked, to God, not to man. Let's get into it.
Well, space is the ultimate who the fuck knows, because we can only see so far. We see so far, but even so far is only so far.
Well, and then they're saying like it's always expanding, which that can't be true, because like what is it expanding into? If space is space, you know, if they're like, oh, it's like blowing up a balloon where everything's okay, but you're blowing up a balloon in a room,
right?
So what's the room that you're blowing the balloon into? And then that's in a bigger room, and then that's in this.
20 seconds in, and we realize that the problem is that with the mind of man, you cannot understand the cosmos, you cannot understand the unknowable, you cannot understand the process by which reality came into being. So I suppose we need some higher authority, some reference point. We can't hear amongst one another tribally bicker about who has supreme authority, or we can, in fact we do. That's exactly what's happening, and we are in a process of infinite regress, where ultimately we're going to end up in single person cubicles quarreling with our own minds, uncertain as to what to believe in and indeed what to do. Joe Rogan's show, in a sense, has created a different category of conversation. Blue collar philosophy, working class poetry, all things which are admirable and ought be pursued. What's fascinating about this conversation, this kind of stoner chit-chat about the impossibility of an expanding universe expanding into nothingness, unless you embrace the paradox of not knowing anything and yet being supremely endowed, that all of reality could be taking place within our consciousness, and yet we're infinitesimally small and meaningless, unless you can somehow hold together those peculiar contradictions, which I frankly can't. I have to just surrender. It seems that where we're moving now, increasingly where Joe Rogan appears to be moving, is into a territory in which it's acknowledged that we need supreme authority.
And then there's the concept that it's actually finite. It's not infinite. And it's some sort of donut shape. It like goes back around eventually.
But then who made all that?
Right.
Like, is there a God? Did God make this?
Or is God the universe?
Yeah, but then who made God? And then that bothers me.
Right. But
like, who made that thing?
Is that a thing that we think that, like, because we were born and we die, that we have these biological limitations that we attach to the universe itself?
That's that's fair.
Right.
That we see things as being built and destroyed.
That there's always been something. Well, wouldn't it be crazy if there wasn't something at one point in time? That seems even crazier. Then there always has been something. Because if it's just something, if it's just the nature of everything, there is always something, right?
Right.
It couldn't be nothing and then all of a sudden everything. That seems...
Because what started that? What kicked that off?
Exactly.
What snapped its fingers?
That's McKenna's great line. Terrence McKenna had a great line about the difference between science and religion is that science only asks you for one miracle. I want you to believe in one miracle, the Big Bang.
Yeah. That's a good one.
It's a great line.
Yeah.
It's because it really is true.
Yes.
And it's funny because people would be incredulous about the resurrection of Jesus Christ, but yet they're convinced that the entire universe was smaller than the head of a pin, and for no reason that anybody's adequately explained to me. It makes sense.
Yeah. No.
Instantaneously became everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't buy that.
I'm sticking with Jesus on that one.
Yeah.
Jesus makes more sense.
Jesus does make more sense as soon as you embrace the impossibility of a thorough understanding because of the limitations we experience, and also the subjective nightmare of being in control of your own life and the inevitability of failure within those restrictions and limits. This conversation takes place as a new pope is enthroned, canonized, elected. The challenge is, of course, that people use divine authority to bolster and embolden human authority. That's when we start getting into serious trouble. We have a new Pope in the Vatican, and here is some video of him speaking on the subject of immigration. Let's have a look.
Both the first reading and the gospel make very clear a message which Pope Francis has been hammering home time and again since his very first trip as Pope, when he went to this little community, an island in southern Italy, the town of Lampedusa, where all these immigrants continue to come. It's a huge problem, and it's a problem worldwide, not only in this country. There's got to be a way both to solve the problem, but also to treat people with respect. Every one of us, whether we were born in the United States of America or on the North Pole, we all are given that gift of being created in the image and likeness of God. And the day we forget that is the day we forget who we are. We forget who Christ has called us to be.
I suppose that's the aspect of spirituality that I'm most drawn to, the idea that we can transcend our limitations as human beings and share in the limitless grace and love of Christ. And that whether it's homelessness in California or mass migration, that we can always find within ourselves more love, more compassion, more grace. And however much compassion, kindness, or grace we may think we're affording others is nothing compared to what we've been given. And we live in a time where people are at war. What we're experiencing now is frequently referred to as a culture war. And what a culture war is, if you ask me, is an attempt to control a narrative. And an attempt to control a narrative means manipulate attention, consciousness, perception, and understanding. And whether you orient or skew towards the left or the right, or individualism or collectivism, socialism, free market capitalism, in the end, you might find, like Joe Rogan and his guests there, that there's a limit to how much we can understand. The best minds in science using the finest instruments that can be contrived. Buttress against Terence McKenna's brilliantly described.
It used to be in physics that they had one singularity. It was called the Big Bang. And so you say, well, one singularity, essentially what science is saying is give us one free miracle, and then we can run it from there.
The Big Bang Theory asks, give us one free miracle, and we'll explain the rest. Or how many questions are left unanswered when it comes to the mysteries of our hearts and souls, and the despair that many of us frequently feel, our longing for comfort, our understanding that we need to be redeemed. None of these questions can be answered through tribalism. They can only be answered through a deep, deep surrender to powerful spiritual forces. And I feel like we are reaching a singularity, not a singularity where technology is able to answer all of our problems, but precisely the opposite. We have begun to recognize the limits of technology. Tools in the hands of man can take us only so far, and we need salvation from the great toolmaker. And I'm not talking about Keir Starmer's dad. He's a toolmaker. Look it up. He used to mention it a lot when campaigning. I'm talking about the creator of all reality. But that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments and the chat. Remember, get Rumble Premium and you can see our content ad-free 4 days a week. In the meantime, if you can, stay free. 1775, baby. How do you stay alive? You've used 1775. A dark roast so bold, it could bench press James Madison. A medium roast smoother than Julian Assange escaping on a skateboard. An anti-aging blend loaded with CA-AKG, a compound scientifically shown to reduce your biological age. And of course, you get some exclusive merch. Look at this matte black tumbler stamped with unapologetic freedom quotes. A gold spoon clip. Oh yeah, Macron and Keir Starmer. We're on the Coke train again, baby. Look at this spoon clip. It keeps your beans sealed tighter than Epstein's list or Zelensky's a-hole when Putin's on a Coke binge. This is not corporate coffee. This is single origin, small batch, mold-free, toxin-free, roasted fresh, not by robots in a diversity-funded focus group, but by people who own cast iron and opinions. Every batch scores 85 plus on the cupping scale. That means it's good, real good. Not roasted over the dying hum of a Cybertruck that ran out of battery halfway through a freedom ride. Go to 7075coffee.com/brand and get yourself a starter kit before the Ministry of Caffeine Regulation finds out.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.